Picture this. A 23-year-old walks into Judge Caprio's courtroom wearing designer clothes and an attitude that screams privilege. He's facing a routine speeding violation. Should take 5 minutes. But when Judge Caprio begins reviewing the case, this young man does something stunning. He doesn't just defend himself. He threatens the entire courtroom. "I'm the governor's son. You better watch how you talk to me." The room goes dead silent. Every eye turns to Judge Frank Caprio, waiting to see how he'll respond to a threat wrapped in entitlement. Will he back down? Will he explode? Will he let wealth and power dictate justice? What happens next is one sentence, 10 words, and the most perfectly delivered lesson in humility this courtroom has ever witnessed. Subscribe now, because what you're about to see is why Judge Caprio is legendary, not for raising his voice, but for knowing exactly when to lower it. Drop your location below and tell us, have you ever seen entitled people learn hard lessons? Let's discuss. Wednesday morning, 11:30 a.m., Providence Municipal Court. The bailiff calls the next case with no idea what's about to unfold. Case number 7842, Derek Hastings, excessive speed. A young man strides, not walks, strides to the podium like he's entering a nightclub he owns. Mid-20s, expensive haircut, designer jacket that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Everything about his body language screams, "I don't belong here with these regular people." Judge Caprio looks up with his usual courtesy. "Good morning, Mr. Hastings." Derek barely glances at him. "Morning." No, Your Honor. No respect in his tone. Judge Caprio's trained eye catches this immediately, but he proceeds professionally. "Mr. Hastings, you're cited for traveling 58 miles per hour in a 35 zone on Thayer Street. That's a residential area with multiple crosswalks. Can you explain what happened?" Derek shrugs like the question itself is beneath him. "I was late for brunch. Road was clear. Not a big deal." Not a big deal? You were going 23 over the speed limit. "Look, nobody got hurt. I'm a good driver. This is just revenue collection disguised as safety." The courtroom stirs. This level of dismissiveness toward a judge is rare and shocking. Judge Caprio's expression doesn't change, but his voice gets slightly firmer. "Mr. Hastings, this court takes traffic safety seriously. Excessive speed in residential zones puts pedestrians at risk." And that's when Derek makes his catastrophic mistake. He leans forward on the podium, looks directly at Judge Caprio with a smirk, and delivers the line that will define this entire case. "Do you know who I am? I'm Governor Hastings' son, so maybe you should watch how you talk to me." The courtroom reaction is instant and dramatic. Gasps, shocked whispers. Everyone waiting to see if this entitled brat just ended his own case, or if wealth and power will somehow protect him. Judge Caprio goes completely still, not angry, not flustered, just still. His eyes lock onto Derek with an intensity that makes the young man's smirk falter slightly. The silence stretches. 5 seconds. 10. 15. The entire courtroom holding its breath. Derek shifts his weight, suddenly less confident under Judge Caprio's unwavering stare. The silence is doing something his threat couldn't. It's making him uncomfortable. Finally, Judge Caprio speaks. His voice is quieter than before, calmer, which somehow makes it more powerful. "Mr. Hastings, let me make sure I understand you correctly. You just told me to watch how I talk to you because you're the governor's son. Is that accurate?" Derek tries to recover his bravado. "I'm just saying, you might want to consider who you're dealing with here." "Who I'm dealing with," Judge Caprio repeats the words slowly. Let me tell you who I'm dealing with, Mr. Hastings. I'm dealing with someone who was driving nearly 60 in a 35. I'm dealing with someone who showed no remorse for endangering pedestrians. And I'm dealing with someone who thinks his father's position makes traffic laws optional. My father is— I know who your father is. Judge Caprio's interruption is gentle but absolute. Your father is Governor Richard Hastings. I've met him on several occasions. He's a dedicated public servant who worked his way up from city council. And I suspect he would be mortified by your behavior right now. Derek's face flushes. For the first time, doubt creeps into his expression. Judge Caprio continues, his voice still measured. Mr. Hastings, you invoked your father's name as if it's a shield against accountability. But let me ask you something. Do you think your father breaks traffic laws and threatens judges when he's caught? I didn't threaten. You told me to watch how I talk to you. In what world is that not a threat? The prosecutor, who's been silent until now, speaks up. Your Honor, for the record, threatening a judicial officer can result in additional contempt charges. Derek's eyes widen. This is escalating in ways he didn't anticipate. Judge Caprio raises his hand slightly, quieting the prosecutor. That won't be necessary. Yet. He turns his full attention back to Derek. Mr. Hastings, I want you to understand something. Your father's position means nothing in this courtroom. Nothing. If the governor himself stood where you're standing and violated traffic laws, he'd face the same consequences as anyone else. That's what justice means. But I'm not finished. The words are still quiet, but they stop Derek cold. You seem to believe that being related to someone important makes you important. It doesn't. You want to know what makes someone important? Character, integrity, respect for others. None of which you've demonstrated today. An older man in the gallery, wearing a veteran's cap, can't help himself. Tell him, Judge! Several people chuckle nervously. The tension is thick, but there's also admiration building for how Judge Caprio is handling this without losing his temper. Derek tries one more angle. Look, Your Honor, I think we got off on the wrong foot. I apologize if I came across badly. Can we just handle this fine and move on? Judge Caprio studies him for a long moment. You want to pay a fine and leave? Yes, Your Honor. No remorse for speeding. No acknowledgement that you endangered people. No real apology for threatening this court. Just pay money and go? Derek realizes his mistake, but it's too late. I am sorry about the speeding. Are you? Or are you sorry you got caught? Silence. Judge Caprio leans back in his chair. The courtroom is so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Everyone knows something significant is about to happen. Subscribe to Judge Stories if you believe entitlement needs consequences. Judge Caprio picks up a pen and makes notes on the file. Derek watches nervously. His earlier confidence completely evaporated. Finally, Judge Caprio looks up. Mr. Hastings, you mentioned your father, the governor. Let me tell you something about your father that you clearly don't know. Derek blinks, confused. Governor Hastings and I served on a public safety commission together 5 years ago. I got to know him fairly well. He's a man who believes deeply in accountability, in fairness, in the rule of law applying equally to everyone. He told me once that the hardest part of being a parent is teaching your children that privilege is responsibility, not immunity. Derek's face is pale now. Judge Caprio's next words are delivered with surgical precision. So here's what I'm going to do, Mr. Hastings. I'm going to give you a message to deliver to your father. The courtroom leans forward collectively. You tell him, Judge Caprio pauses for perfect timing, that his son needs to learn what justice means, and that this court is going to teach him. The silence that follows is profound. Then, from the back of the courtroom, someone starts clapping. Slowly at first, then others join. Within seconds, the entire gallery is applauding. Derek stands frozen, humiliated, as the applause continues. This isn't celebration of his punishment. It's admiration for a judge who just proved that no one is above the law. Judge Caprio waits for the applause to die down, then delivers his ruling. Mr. Hastings, for excessive speed in a residential zone 23 miles over the limit, I'm imposing a fine of $500. Derek winces, but doesn't argue. Additionally, you're required to complete a defensive driving course. 8 hours, in person, no online option. You'll sit in a classroom with other traffic violators and learn why speed limits exist. Your Honor, I'm not finished. Third, I'm ordering you to complete 20 hours of community service. You'll be working with a traffic safety program that educates teenagers about responsible driving. Maybe teaching others will teach you. Derek's mouth opens, but no words come out. And finally, I'm sending a letter to your father. Not to get you in more trouble, but to inform him of this case, and to express my confidence that he'll ensure you understand the lesson here. Now Derek looks genuinely panicked. Your Honor, please don't tell my father. Judge Caprio's expression is almost sympathetic. Mr. Hastings, you invoked your father's name to try to intimidate this court. You brought him into this. I'm simply following through on your own choice. After Derek is dismissed, walking out far less confidently than he entered, Judge Caprio addresses the courtroom. Ladies and gentlemen, what you just witnessed is why this system exists. Mr. Hastings came here believing his father's position would protect him. He thought he could threaten a judge and face no consequences. He was wrong. An older woman in the front row raises her hand. Judge Caprio nods to her. Yes, ma'am? She stands. Your Honor, I'm a retired teacher. I taught for 37 years, and what you just did, that's what we're supposed to do when young people act entitled. We're supposed to teach them that the world doesn't revolve around them. Judge Caprio nods appreciatively. Ma'am, thank you. You're exactly right. Mr. Hastings needed to learn that lesson. Better he learns it here, in traffic court, than somewhere more serious down the line. A younger man stands. Your Honor, I have a question. What if he doesn't do the community service or the driving course? Then his license gets suspended and he faces additional penalties. The choice is his. But what if his father intervenes, tries to get it reduced? Judge Caprio's answer is firm. Governor Hastings is a man of integrity. I don't believe he'll interfere. In fact, I suspect he'll make sure his son completes every requirement. Because good parents don't protect their children from consequences. They teach them to face them. The veteran who spoke earlier raises his hand. Your Honor, permission to speak? Go ahead, sir. I served in Desert Storm. Saw a lot of young officers who thought their rank meant they could do whatever they wanted. The best leaders were the ones who didn't pull rank. They earned respect. That kid needs to learn respect isn't inherited. It's earned. Judge Caprio nods solemnly. That's exactly the lesson, sir. Thank you for your service, and thank you for that perspective. A woman with a young teenager beside her speaks up. Your Honor, I'm here with my son who got his first speeding ticket. We've been watching this case. I'm grateful he's seeing what happens when you act entitled versus taking responsibility. Judge Caprio addresses the teenager directly. Young man, what did you learn from watching Mr. Hastings? The teenager thinks carefully. That who your parents are doesn't matter when you break the law? That's part of it. What else? That respect goes both ways? You have to give it to get it? Judge Caprio smiles. Excellent. Remember that. When your case is called, show respect. Take responsibility, and you'll be treated fairly. Act like Mr. Hastings, and you'll get the same lesson he just got. Tell us in the comments, should Judge Caprio have been even harsher? Or was this the perfect response? As court continues with other cases, the atmosphere has shifted. There's a sense that something important happened. Not just a traffic case being resolved, but a principle being defended. During a brief recess, the prosecutor approaches Judge Caprio. Your Honor, that was masterful. I've never seen someone diffuse a threat so effectively without raising your voice. Judge Caprio shrugs modestly. Raising your voice gives away your power. Staying calm keeps it. Do you think he learned anything? I think he learned that his father's name isn't magic. Whether he learns the deeper lesson, that character matters more than connections, that remains to be seen. And the letter to the governor? I'll write it tonight. Governor Hastings deserves to know what happened. Not to embarrass his son, but because good parents need to know when their children need guidance. The veteran approaches during the break. Judge, I just wanted to say, that kid needed to hear what you said. Too many young people think the rules don't apply to them. Sir, the rules apply to everyone. That's not my opinion. That's the foundation of justice. You think the governor will be angry? Judge Caprio considers. At his son? Probably. At me? I don't think so. Governor Hastings knows his son acted inappropriately. He'll handle it. Later that day, Judge Caprio writes the promised letter. Dear Governor Hastings, I'm writing to inform you of a case involving your son Derek that appeared in my court today. I want you to hear about it from me directly rather than through other channels. Derek was cited for excessive speed. During proceedings, he attempted to use your position to intimidate this court. I want you to know that I did not and will not treat him any differently because of who you are. He has been fined and required to complete driving education and community service. These are standard penalties for his violations. I'm telling you this not to cause family strife, but because I respect you and believe you would want to know. Your son needs to understand that your accomplishments are yours, not his, and that respect is earned through actions, not inherited through family connections. Respectfully, Judge Frank Caprio. 3 days later, Judge Caprio receives a response. Dear Judge Caprio, thank you for handling my son's case with fairness and for taking the time to inform me directly. I am mortified by Derek's behavior and grateful you held him accountable. He and I have had a long conversation about respect, privilege, and responsibility. I assure you he will complete every requirement you imposed. I hope this experience teaches him what I have failed to adequately instill, that character is measured by how you treat others, especially those with authority over you. Thank you for teaching him what I should have. Richard Hastings. Subscribe to Judge Stories now for more moments when entitlement meets accountability and when one sentence changes everything. Derek Hastings walked into court thinking his father's name was Armor. He left knowing it was just a name. Judge Caprio proved that justice doesn't check your family tree. It checks your character. This is what happens when privilege meets principle, when threats meet calm authority, and when one perfectly timed sentence delivers a lesson worth more than any fine. Share this if you believe no one is above the law. Comment where you're from and whether your courts hold everyone equally accountable.